Welcome back to the Puck Bunker. I'm Rocco Zappia, joined as always by my co-host, the man whose ritualistic pre-game meal includes a trip to IKEA for the Swedish meatballs, and that would be Darren Boyce. Speaking of Swedish meatballs,
Well, they do have they do have hot dogs there that I enjoy. They have a nice candy section there I enjoy. Um, yeah, I think our old friend Dylan from Team Blue might like those. So
oh boy! All right, shout out to IKEA, and not to be outdone by the best thing to come out of Sweden since ABBA, we have two great Swedish prospects that we'll be discussing today. We'll be discussing how great they may or may not be. That would be the highly touted Ivar Stenberg and Viggo Bjorck.
per
Darren,
request.
by request, I know. Gotta love it. We followed up on that a month later, but we're doing it, and that's what matters here. So Darren's been a little grumpy today, a little grumpier than usual. So I'm going to let him go, and I think I'm just going to let him get some things off his chest here.
I'm just going to say one thing before we start today. I'm not going to dive into the news of the NHL day. I just want to mention something. If we're going to say Toronto is the hardest place to play in professional sports, like shut up. Shut up. It is not. So that's it. It's not. Like just stop with that. This isn't 1990 South America. This isn't Europe for soccer. So stop. Just stop. That's all I have to say.
Reminds me of Jokic. Brother, I played in Serbia. This is
no shit.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Well,
grow up a little bit.
Are we getting into this? Are we doing this?
Well, I don't want to get into it anymore. That's all I have to say.
Okay. All right. We'll leave Mitchie be today. Do you want to start with one of these guys, Darren? Do you want to start with Bjorck?
I'll start with Viggo Bjorck. Sure.
Okay.
All right.
So how do you like him, Darren?
Well, look, Viggo Bjorck, again, I think he's a winger. I don't think he's a centerman. So I'm going to my projection is him as a winger. He's 5'10", like 170 pounds. Again, he may have grown here a little bit. I'd like to see what his actual, height and weight are as the season goes on here. That's something I would like to see closer to draft time with him. Right now, he's a little small. That's something that I, would be a little bit worried about. But again, last year, he played the J20 and he had 74 points in 42 games. So, I mean, he dominated that league. So there is obviously some potential here. This guy, he's obviously too good for the level he's playing. Now, this year, I think he's going to play pro. Like, I think that's where they want him to be playing. And forgive me for butchering this, Desh Gardens or whatever. Like, again, sorry, the Don Jeremy, I just butcher it. Nonetheless, the pros of this player, again, his best trait is his effort. I think this guy tries extremely hard all game. Like, again, he's very relentless that way. I really like that about him. And as a smaller player, that makes I'm not as worried about his ability to translate in the NHL for being a smaller guy. The effort plays, and he's hard to play against along the boards that way. Like, he works hard. So I can get behind him. Like, I have time for it. Again, some people criticize me for going after I love the bigger guy. I have time for him. So that's okay. It's a good playmaker too. I mean, he's good on the rush. He's really good on the rush. Hits guys in stride. Good hard passes. Creates opportunities. Works hard and works fine in tight areas. And he's good on the boards. Like, again, he can play in a cycle, which again tells me he can translate to an NHL game. And I think there's a guy here that can contribute. Again, he's physical. Like, again, physically, I think he's actually quite a good physical player. He's just small. So it's kind of how physical can he be at his size? He wins a lot of puck battles for size. And again, he's been playing pro exhibition games here. and he's winning battles against guys that are older than him just from his effort alone, and he's quite strong. So, I mean, I have time for that. Skating's fine. I mean, he's pretty quick. I wouldn't say he's elite quick, but I mean, he's pretty quick. It's his kind of agility, and I want to say he's strong on his skates. Like, again, he kind of has that low center of gravity, so he's very strong on his skates, which allows him to be actually quite a good board and physical player, as we said, at the smaller stature. So I don't mind that about him. Defensively, I think he's in pretty good support locations for a winger. Like, I mean, he does everything you want a winger to do. I think coaches would have time for him. I don't think he's an elite defensive player, but I don't think he's a problem. I think a coach would be happy to put him out there, and they're not going to be too worried about him. I mean, other than that, like, I mean, again, decent offensive player. I don't think he's the most elite, maybe the most elite playmaker, but I mean, he's a good one. I mean, he definitely translates to be a decent guy in pro. I think that's what I would say there. Puck skills are fine. Really good pass receiver, actually. Again, maybe not a skill that a lot of people notice with guys. Whenever you put a puck near him, he tends to pick it up very fluidly, which not a lot of guys can do. So that in itself, that might actually be his best skill, which is, again, maybe I'm getting too excited about that. But again, he does have some pro level tools here, which are good. And a shot, I mean, again, I don't think his shot's elite. I think it's fine. I think he can, again, he'll go to kind of greasy areas to try and score. His shot's fine. Like, he can keep guys honest that way. So overall, again, I have a lot of time for him. I'm not as worried about him translating as I would be other smaller guys. I think he can, like, there's a guy who can translate lower in the lineup here, with the effort, with, again, good forecheck, with some physical ability, win some battles, can contribute offensively, and isn't a hole defensively. Like, there's a very good baseline player here. Things I would like to see from him. I want to see how his offense translates kind of at the next level if he's going to play pro in Sweden this year. You want to see how that translates against men, and you want to see how he physically translates against men, and also if he can grow at all. I mean, if we're talking about a guy who's 5'10", if he grows to 6 feet, 6'1", we're talking about a much higher level type, prospect here. So in my opinion, I just have a hard time believing right now that a team's going to take a guy like this top 5 or even top 10 with some of the guys available right now. There's a lot of size in this draft that we've at least seen so far. A lot of right-hand D, a lot of left-hand D who have some, have some ability as well. I think he is probably a first rounder because I think there's some safety in the pick. He might be smaller, but the way he plays will, let's just say Colin Potter went in the first round this year. I know he went 32nd. Colin Potter went 32nd. Again, had an elite speed skill. I think this guy's a better player than him. I think he has a better all-around game than a guy like him. Depends on the draft. I'm just comparing that way. I could see this guy definitely being a first rounder. I just don't know if we're looking at a top 10 guy here. But again, this is a guy I want to see how he translates in pro, because this could be he'd be interesting because, again, with his size, I'd be interested to see how teams will treat him.
Yeah, and look, I agree with most of what you said. I didn't see the same necessarily greasiness in my viewings. Now, that said, I didn't really watch his preseason games where he's competing for a pro job, but I was basing it off the U18s where I did see a little bit more perimeter type winger plays fishing with his stick. That said, I had no issue with his overall effort level. And I agree that, look, this is a highly intelligent player who knows where to be on the ice, which makes up for a lot of what are maybe his shortcomings as a prospect, I guess, both in terms of size and straight line speed. I don't think either of those are ideal, obviously, but there is some pretty fantastic edge work and some ability to create time and space for himself with some lateral agility and some short area kind of movement. He's got a lot of good control of the puck doing that, and he's able to kind of create space between him and the defenders, despite maybe not having the speed to look, he's not going to beat a high-end NHL defenseman wide, but he can dink and dunk and dance and be effective in that way. And I think he's a very good playmaker, very good shooter. Defenses are going to have to respect both aspects of him in that sense offensively, which is going to keep him versatile and kind of a bit of an option. And like you say, his motor is good, and he plays a decently sound game for an offensive winger. So I do think there is a player here. I don't think it's fair to hype this guy up as a necessarily a top 5 pick, unless the skating or the size come quite a long way. I just don't think that's fair. The same, it happens every year. Guys will drop, but I do think that at this point, like for me, this is very much a guy who is in the first round, like at this point for sure. Like there's no for sure's in August, or September, whatever month it is when we release this, but end of August right now, like there's no for sure's, but he looks like a pretty darn good bet. I don't know. I'm not as excited as the rest of the world about him, but this is not to be unexpected from us.
No, look, in terms of the difference between fighting for a pro job and the U18s, I do think there's improvement here. Like he looks stronger, and he looks like the skating's gotten maybe not a step, but maybe a half step better. Like again, he is not all these. Again, it's training camp, so again, he's fighting for a job with these guys. So they're not all the best guys, but it is noteworthy that I'm watching a game where he's playing guys that are older than him, and he's coming out with the puck a lot, and he's looking like the more physical guy. I'm not saying he's going to go around hammering guys. I'm talking about more he gets into a battle and like he has the strength to win the battle as a smaller guy. That's encouraging to me. I'm not.
And I agree with that. I do agree with that, where he is able, like he does a good job of leveraging his stature.
Yes.
And getting under guys.
And again, his skating base, again, he's actually quite strong. Maybe he's not the fastest guy, but I mean, he's strong. And so it's really hard to knock down. Like again, some of these other guys, like again, some of these other guys we talk about in the draft, like they fall down all the time. And again, it's because they're uncoordinated. They're a little too big at this point. They're just not strong enough. Like he is strong enough on his skates to play pro. From what I saw in these these preseason games, I think he can play there and stick there. It's just I don't know what.
Well, he's way too good for the J20 league.
Way too good. Well, his effort level itself, like it's just he's a good player with high effort. So like when you're a good player in junior and you have a high effort, like you're going to do really well.
Yeah,
like that's just.
I do agree with that. I have a lot more time for him than I do for most small guys. Yeah. I will say that. However, I still don't think we're like, I see him ranked 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, unless I don't know that we're looking at a top 10 pick.
To me, this guy looks like maybe like a middle 6 winger, like something like that.
His offensive IQ is so high end. I think if he makes it, he's going to be a top 6.
But I think he can play in like a 3rd line role, and I think he'll be okay. Like I think he can be that guy. Like he's an energy guy. He's an energy guy. He wins battles. Like he can get the puck, and he can actually get the puck to other teammates. Like he can make a play with it. So like it's not like I think you could, and I don't think he's a whole defensively. I think he's fine. And as a winger, like again, if he's going to play his position, what the coach tells him to do, he's going to get ice time. And he can move up the lineup. Like I think that's what I see with him. Like there's some other guys here where I actually see there's some like bust potential here with some guys. Again, I don't want to say that in August. I'm just saying there's some concerns you see where like, okay, like that could be a problem. Like basically his only problem to me is that he's 5'10". Like I don't see a glaring hole in the game here other than his size.
I don't know. And I don't know, like he does work hard, but I don't know if he's the hardest guy, not in terms of work ethic, but like I don't know. if that like that, but that ties into size, really,
Yeah.
was kind of what I'm nitpicking at, I suppose. Like, I guess they're kind of very similar. You can't really be the toughest guy to play. I mean, Nathan Gerby was pretty fucking tough, but he was different. But anyways, I agree with the vast majority of kind of what you saw. But again, you were watching some of the season games. I didn't watch his preseason games for this year, so you expect, I think, for most prospects, like you expect to see a step in the skating from 16 to 17. That should be a very common theme. Now that we're going to get some new viewings on guys, only 4 weeks till the start of the CHL season. I can't wait. But
Yeah.
that should be a pretty common theme that we see. Like, I would be concerned if you didn't see.
Exactly. So I mean that's what I'm saying though. Like I it's good. Like I've seen development from the player here, and from what I've seen of him, I think he can at least play in. I think he can play in that league and not be. He definitely wouldn't be a liability. Like I think that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Like he could potentially like he'll play pro games this year for sure.
He should be playing in that league this year.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
He's way too good for the junior league.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve him any purpose to be there.
No, he's already proven he's too good for that league. So I mean, he does need a new challenge, and again, it'll be good for his offensive development. Like again, you're going to see him probably in this, in a role where he probably is playing less minutes than a top 6 guy. So you're going to see him in that role, but then he'll probably work his way up the lineup and get some more offensive opportunities because he does a lot of good things when he's on the ice. And again, from the people who've listened to us and at least listen to me, I just like guys who constantly make good plays. I want guys who constantly win races or constantly win battles and are constantly in the right spot and not fucking up. Like, he doesn't fuck up. That's what NHL coaches want. Guys who don't fuck up. That's literally it. Don't fuck up. So
don't disagree at all. I'm still going to battle, I think, most of the year with the fact that we're talking about a 5'9", 5'10" winger.
Well, let's see what his height is. Like, we need to see his measurements. Like, he's a guy.
Well, did he look like he was over 6 foot?
No,
not that that's the end of the world.
Not
I don't want to make it sound like it is, but
he's a guy whose measurements I'm intrigued at it, like from the combine. Like, that's a guy I'm going to be very interested in seeing if what he actually is.
Well, if you can get up to 5'10", 5'11", and get up to 190 pounds, like, you see the model there. A guy like Zetterlund does it, right?
Yeah,
not the tallest guy, but 100%.
I don't think Zetterlund's actually like a bad comparable. I mean, they're not the exact same guy, but I mean,
I think this guy's got a little more offense to offer than Zetterlund.
But there's like the effort kind of, like, you know what I mean? Like, Zetterlund hits guys and he's kind of just buzzing around all the time. I think this guy has more offensive potential, but I mean, it's just
don't know how much Bjorck is hitting guys.
But he's winning battles. Like, he's hard to play against. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, it's a smaller guy who can do things out there that he's not a prototypical small guy. Yeah.
So, Darren, impressed, worth the hype, lived up to the hype, ho hum.
I'm not ho hum. I like him. I have time for him. It's just where to place him. Like, we're gonna have to, again, we're still in the middle of viewing a lot of these guys. It's just where to properly place them, because
we just started viewing a lot of these guys.
Yeah, like, I think, again,
not this guy. Obviously, he's been knowing about him for 3 years, but
I think he's a top. Like, again, I don't think he's a top 10 guy. Just, I don't see a team taking a guy at that height in this spot, unless he plays in the Swedish Elite League and he has like a point per game. Then maybe they will. Like, there is a performance queue where he could, but it's really high.
Anything else? That's it for Viggo Bjorck.
I think so. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what he does. I'm intrigued to see if he can play pro and how he does in pro. So I'm happy to
I
track
would
him
say
there.
I would say this, and look, we've seen him lots last year, so you kind of know what you're getting into a little bit. But I would say if I had never heard about him before, I'd probably really like him. I think the hype is a little overblown here, and I don't think that's necessarily fair to the player, really. If I'm being honest, because people are like, if he ends up being in a mid round first, or even late round first, or even really anywhere outside the top five, people are like, oh, like what happened to him? He fell down the draft board. Well, he didn't. He really didn't. You just knew about him a lot sooner.
Yeah. Well, that's probably like, yeah. Like again, I think he is overhyped a little bit. I still like the player though.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's like I like him. I just don't like him at the spot where people are ranking him right now.
I agree. That's okay. Viggo Bjorck. Let's move on to the other highly touted Swedish prospect, forward, anyways, Ivar Stenberg. Now, I watched him in last year, a lot last year. He was a big part of Sweden's teams at these tournaments last year because they had a weak group and they did rely on him a lot. I actually like this guy, and I think me and Darren might disagree here, maybe a little bit. I like him quite a bit. Now he has a later birthday, so you got to take that into consideration. He was not far away from last year's draft. He is one of the older guys in the draft, but much like Bjork, he's too good for that Swedish Junior League. He put up 2 points a game last year, pretty darn close. He was 53 points in 27 games. He was and equal 27 goals, 26 assists, or 26 goals, 27 assists. So he can give it to you both ways. Now, I think from watching him, this is a guy that I have watched some of his preseason games. He put up 26 goals last year. I think this is a playmaker at heart. And I think that shows when he was playing in the SHL games. Now, maybe part of that is it's preseason. You don't want to look selfish. You're deferring to older guys. A lot of those things could be the case, but I noticed that there was a couple of times like notable where he passed up a pretty damn good shooting opportunity to try to force a bit of a tap in pass. Now, equally, two of those times where he forced a pass that they absolutely dropped my jaw because they worked and they were complete empty net goals. Gifts from Santa Claus on Christmas morning to his teammates. Like couldn't serve up bacon and eggs on a better platter than that. It was like, oh my goodness. So I think that is kind of what we're looking at in terms of the model of a player is an extremely high end playmaker. Again, I see a winger here, but an extremely high end playmaking winger. I think he can shoot the puck. I think that you may have to convince him to use his shot a little bit more, kind of like you saw with Jake O'Brien. But again, he's going to be one of the younger guys playing in pro in the SHL, so he may be in a situation where he's probably going to be deferring to guys a little bit. That's fine because I do think his playmaking is pretty fucking elite. If I can go that far, that part of his game is not overhyped at all. I like him as a skater. His edge work is fantastic. I think he's a better straight line skater than Bjork, although I don't think he's elite straight line speed. His edges are quite good. His stops and starts are very good. His change of direction is good, and he's really smart in the sense of using change of pace in his skating to throw guys off and create space for himself and create openings. And he does a really good job with that to allow himself to get to the middle of the ice on guys. And I don't think he looked out of place at all in those SHL preseason games that I watched. And at times he was flat out dominant for spits and spurts. But that's the thing; it's in spits and spurts. You don't see it consistently. Now, I also don't expect it consistently in a preseason game when you're an 18-year-old in a pro league, and that's just simply not going to happen all the time. The fact to me is that he absolutely fit in that league in those games. And again, like you said, they're not necessarily playing their best guys, and the best guys aren't necessarily playing their hardest. However, he's still a kid who fit in amongst men and didn't look out of place and made his teammates better on multiple occasions. Do I love the competitiveness in the dirty areas? Not necessarily. I see a lot of stick checks and a lot of fishing for pucks. But again, I have to counter myself, because sometimes when he's fishing for pucks, he pulls them out and he creates a scoring opportunity out of absolutely nothing, which I think is what he's often trying to do when a puck's kind of bouncing around in skates. I think he does see it as an opportunity to try to make something happen. You're going to have to get a little bit harder to play against in those situations, but I think he can learn. I don't have an issue with his overall competitiveness and his work rate and his effort level in terms of his skating. Like, he wasn't dogging it out there, just a little bit timid against bigger, older guys when it comes to really, really battling for them. And that's not the end of the world for me at this point, but I very much think this is a high-end offensive player. I think his hands are absolutely sickening how good his puck control is, and further to that, how good his puck control is when he's in full flight at top speed. He's still able to toe drag guys like really easily. Like, it doesn't look like he's even having to try hard to do it, which is pretty crazy, because then you realize, like, oh, this is actually an SHL preseason game, not a J20 league, and he's still making guys look like fools when he has the puck on his stick. So, like, in that sense, absolutely, like, the offensive game hype to me is very warranted, but like, just such a typical profile for a high-end winger at that age, where you got to work on the details, you got to work on your defensive assignments, you got to get a little harder to play against in the corners. And it's a profile that I've written over and over and over, scouting high-end scoring wingers in their draft year. It's just a very, very typical set of issues, but those are things that are common, which means they're things that can be worked on, right? So the things that he does well are things that other guys cannot do. He does a lot of things on the ice that other players could practice day and night and never be able to do. He's just more talented than them in a lot of ways. So that's what I think you're looking at, especially at this point in the season. We are like, you're looking for the positives at this point, because you do have to identify there are points in the draft where guys are just better than other players in terms of talent and upside and fucking God-given ability. And he's one of those guys that has that elite offensive skill that is really hard to find. So he is a guy that's 6 foot. He's just 6 foot. He's listed at 6 foot. Like, he's not big, he's not small. I'm not worried about his size, and it's not an asset either. So, and that's where he's getting, regardless of what his measurements come in, that's kind of what you're getting with him. He's somewhere between 5'11" and a half and 6'1", and that's whatever. Great. So I don't have any necessarily drawbacks the same way I do with Bjorck in terms of size itself being a concern. Would I like to give him Bjork's balls? Sure. But I kind of like Stenberg's total package in terms of upside as a pro, and as a high-end offensive producer. I think maybe a little bit more. Those hands and that playmaking ability are going to translate to any league. So there's a lot of time. I have a lot of time for that. The details need to come, and I'm going to let Boyce jump in here on those, because it's something that we talked about before the show, that I know he'd like to mention. I'm not as sour on it in a lot of ways. I don't see. All right, you know what? I'm gonna let Boyce go. Boyce, go ahead here.
Can I jump in?
I'll let you say what you think, and then I'll disagree later.
So I'm going to start with the positives here. The puck skills are fantastic, and they translate into a pro game. That's, I think, what's most noteworthy here. Saw him at the U18s, hands, translate there. He can literally handle the puck, and he's the best puck handler on the ice. He can handle it in a phone booth, basically. Playing pro, it's kind of the same thing. So that translates. So that's, And if you're comparing him to Bjorck, like this is a high end skill that Bjorck doesn't have. So this is the advantage of the prospect here, is that you have this one high end skill that he can play off of, that there's a lot of potential here. Now, you talk about his playmaking. I'm not as high on his playmaking yet, because I think he overhandles the puck a lot of the time. Because he's so good with the puck, he misses a lot of advantages that he could create. Now, the counter to that is, though, that the potential is still there for him to have that handling skill and actually hit those advantages. So if like the potential is there for that to really hit, like, so if I'm going to compare him again, I'm not the same guy, but I'm going to compare him to like a McKenna right now, right? McKenna has that ability, but he actually hits the advantages. And that's kind of the difference here, right? Now, I'm not saying he will turn into McKenna, but you can see the playmaking potential here. I just don't think it's there yet. I think that might be the difference that we have with him. And yet he still does create chances for his teammates, throughout the game. I think there's just more there. I
will say that, like, I agree that he can be guilty of making one too many moves, and that is something that I noticed. He can handle the puck almost into a problem when he doesn't need to. But again, that's him in his mind. You can see what he's thinking. He's like, well, fuck, if I just beat one more guy, all of a sudden we got another tapping goal here, right? And that's what he's going for. And I think that's different than playmaking, because, like, when I'm talking playmaking, I mean his ability to see guys, to manipulate defenders, to open guys up, his ability to kind of set plays up through his skating routes, and then being able to hit the passes. To me, that's playmaking. Whereas him kind of overhandling the puck and almost stick handling himself into getting hit, and it happens sometimes. That to me is just a little bit more so situational awareness and knowing when it's time to be hyper creative and when it's time to just put the puck back down low. And that's a coachable thing, I think, to me.
Well, it's situational, yes. I don't know if it's as coachable, in my opinion, as like compare. Like in my opinion, I'm not sure it is as coachable, because that's his natural. His natural want is to hold the puck. Okay. And like,
but he's been the best player forever. He's been the best player in every league he's ever played.
Really good at it. Okay. So he has to learn to utilize that skill. He's learned to utilize that skill at a lower level, where he can just hold the puck and he can just get around everyone, right? Basically. So what he has to do now is learn to utilize it against guys he can't get around, but to create advantages that way, which he can. There's evidence that he can. He just has to learn to do it more consistently. Okay. But again, it is his natural want to hold the puck. So he has to learn to change that, which it's not easy to do, but he can do it.
Why can't he be a guy that has the puck a lot?
Well, he can. But again, I don't think in the NHL a guy can hold the puck a lot and just hold it in the zone all the time. Like, again, most effective guys have the puck, get rid of it.
And that's fair.
Yeah. Now, another thing too that I would like to point out, he loves to reverse the puck. It's a very Russian approach where he just reverse. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just noteworthy that, again, he likes to do that. He doesn't really push the pace. Which again, a lot of
he pushes the paces like in certain ways, like, and that's why I said he uses his change of speed really well, because he'll come at you through the neutral zone at full tilt, and then right before he hits the blue line, he's basically coming to a crawl, and then it's a snow spray. He's stopping so hard, and 2 strides to the middle, and all of a sudden he's got 6 feet of room in front of him, and you don't know.
You're right, but again, he consistently just curls back. Like, it's not one or the other. It's usually just a curl back. So, like, again, it's kind of his natural idea is to get into the zone, turn around and scan. It's not really to go to the net or create an opportunity off the rush.
This isn't a power forward.
No, but I would also, again, and it's something I said about McKenna too. I would like to see him push the play towards the net more on the rush. Again, these guys are they've been so good in, growing up that they just curl around and just create off the boards, like with a slowed down play. You need more diversity in the NHL than that. And especially at 5-on-5, a lot of the goals are scored off the rush. Like that is most of the goals 5-on-5.
Well, it's like
it's transition.
Pretty often it's a counterattack chance.
Yeah, it's transition. So, I mean, again, that's something I want to see him work on. But again, I do think the potential playmaker here is quite high. It just, there's work to do on it. I don't. So that's what I want to see this year is I want to see how the playmaking potential really works with him, especially at, a pro level. I want to see what type of habits develop and, how just in general he learns to manipulate pro defenses. I think that's what you want to see. Because again, this is a step up. He won't be able to have the same habits as he had before. And it should improve him. Like, I think there's a high probability he improves here.
Well, these are both guys who they're ready for and they need a new challenge, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of times, and you see that with extremely high-end players, they get kind of shitty habits sometimes because they're so good that growing up that they get away with it. And like, why would you?
I wouldn't even say his habits are shitty. It's just like, it's just,
well,
it's
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, it's just a skill development he needs to do. That's all. I did want to talk about his skating. I mean, his skating's fine. You are right. Good, like really shifty guy. And his skating plays higher because his hands are so good. So it almost makes his skating like an extra point higher just because he can manipulate. Yeah, he can do it at his top speed. I actually think there's ability to get stronger there though, because I find him, I don't actually think he's that strong on his feet yet. Like, I think he's kind of weak still. I think he's kind of I think there's still another step there. So again, that's another way this guy can improve because he gains another level of speed with those hands. That's like, again, that's just going to make him create even more advantages on these other, other D in that I do like the potential of this player. I just don't think he's not a finished product. There's a lot of potential here with this guy.
No, now he's not a finished product, but I don't know that I'm not sure I see any possibility other than top 6.
Well, that's okay. So this is where I want to talk about kind of the downside here. Okay. I actually don't think he's terrible defensively. He's not good though. Like, he's there, but he gets beat way too easily. Like, he's in the position, but then the guys just walk around him. Like, it just doesn't, and he's not really.
It's like Rick on a Monday night.
Oh, poor Rick. Rick plays.
I'm gonna wait to see how long it takes him to text me upset about that joke.
Shout out Rick. I mean, he's not in great defensive position. Like, he cheats for offense sometimes, not all the time though. Again, like some other guys we saw, he's just not above the puck sometimes. Like, it's just he's a step in the wrong spot. I think that can be coached. Like, I don't think he's an unwilling defender. So I think you can make him an average defender, which if you think this is a high point potential guy, that's good. Like, I think you can make him, like, he's not a lost cause. That's what I'm saying. I think it's not been his priority. And I just don't think it maybe lacks confidence, maybe per se in that side of the game. I don't think he quite knows where to go as much. I think he's just kind of standing in the wrong spot. Sometimes he's flat-footed. Sometimes like guys just get around him. Like, he's just not prepared. The defensive side of the puck. Again, he's playing older guys as well. Like, I don't think that I shouldn't really expect him to be a Selke winner at 17 years old. So,
well, and that's exactly it, right? Like, we keep coming back to it, but it's, again, they've been so much better than everybody for so long Like, why the fuck would you need to learn to play defense when you have the puck on your stick every time you're on the ice for 15 years in a row?
Listen, I think he can become an average defender quite easily.
I think so too.
So I think we're in a good spot here. The potential, again, we're looking potential wise of this guy. There is a high potential here.
Very.
Yes, like there's a like high
75,
total,
75 plus point player.
Exactly. So there is a high potential guy here. I mean, his compete is fine. Like he engages in battles. He's weak. Like he just doesn't win them. So again, what's this look like if he gains some strength?
I don't know how engaged in battles he is.
Well, he tried. Like he was in them. He didn't ignore them.
He's in them with his stick.
I guess.
You're not really battling, but again, you're fishing for offense a little bit there in those situations.
But I also wonder if this again, I also wonder with this type of player, if this comes with more strength and like you become a stronger guy, you have some more confidence going into those battles. And then you start winning more of them. So like
he's 17 years old playing against 35-year-olds and 30-year-olds, and like, yeah, he's not going to win a lot of these battles right now.
Now, yes. Now, one thing I am worried about, and I'm not sure about the development of it, even if he does gain strength in that, very uncomfortable with board play. Like
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like that's
what I'm talking about.
Well, he'll get into a battle per se, but I'm talking about like cycle play in that, not his thing, especially offensively. He's not a cycle guy. He doesn't even want to play the cycle. He wants to hold the puck. And so, well, no, like he never has had to play the cycle, Rocco.
Okay, but I'm going to counter that by saying, like, one of the games I watched, 2 assists, both came off guys cycling the puck to him, and then him dancing a guy and feeding a sick pass through pairs of skates. So he looked like he cycled just fucking fine there.
Well, but they got him the puck. They're looking for him.
Well, that's what his job's going to be. That's always going to be his role.
But we're talking about this. So you just said it. This probably means that he doesn't have bottom 6 potential.
No.
Like he's not, because he can't. And all I'm saying is that we're looking at this offensive player. We're lacking a little bit of diversity in his offensive game to be a top guy. I think that's what I'm saying here. Like, again, he has some high offensive ability. He's not really going to create a lot off the cycle, like him being involved in the cycle. Like, he's not going to be Bill Zonin.
No, but he can. Again, I think there's a guy who naturally reads the offensive game extremely well, and I don't see why he can't be a guy who learns to play the cycle very well, especially with that kind of quickness and edges. Like, I could see him going 10-2 with his skates around guys, feeding pucks back, reversing them. You know what I mean? Like, he has all the tools to do it. He's just always been the puck carrier for so long that, like, these are just things that he's never had to do.
Yeah. Well, no, it's again, and this is so playing pro this year. This is what, and we're gonna probably watch him at the World Juniors, I guess, or well, maybe not actually, because he's 19-year-old tournament. But I'd assume that he should be on that team.
He's gonna be on the team.
Well, like we've made that assumption before. You want to see how he, like, again, you want to see development in the kind of these, you want to see if the defensive game develops a bit. You want to see if the physical game develops a bit. You want to see if his offense develops a little bit off physicality at all, like off these more pro style offense, right? That's what you want to see. And if he gets more diversity in his offensive game again, his hands are always going to be there. Like he's always going to be able to create with his hands. That's not going to go away. Okay.
It's all going to get better.
Exactly. So it's if he can start creating with these other parts of his game that he becomes even more dangerous and becomes, again, there's a higher potential here. So I like the player. Again, I can buy him being a top 10 guy. I really can. If a team's really into the potential of the player. I just think there is some downside right now because he has a lot of work to do in terms of become a full-on Like he has to be a top 6 guy. He has to be. And he still has work to do on the offensive end, I think, to be a finished product at that level.
But if you're taking him top 5 or top 10, you better be a fucking top 6 guy anyways. So like
Yeah.
at that point
But
in the
it's
draft,
well,
what you're
no, but like I think right now there's no like safety per se in this pick. Right? Like again, there's the high end. The high end's high.
I think there's safety in the sense that he's just that goddamn good.
Yeah.
I do, that's why I said that's what I said. I do think he has that natural skill level that's going to keep him at a certain in the top echelon of the draft class. And if it's not the top echelon, it's in that next group in that whatever 4 to 12 range sort of thing that you maybe usually see. Like he's just fucking better than guys. Like he's just better than them. And does he have things to work on? Yeah, he does. But he just has more talent than pretty much everybody else that I've watched.
So, like, where do you think? Like, what is your opinion? Then is he worth at the top 5 kind of accolades that he's getting right now?
I have like 10 or 12 guys labeled as potential top 5 pick, and he's one of them.
Okay. I think there's potential he could go there.
Top 5, top 10. I don't like. Are we looking at a guy who's going to go first overall and supplant McKenna? No, we're not. So the conversation's wide open after that. I don't care what anyone says. And yes, maybe Verhoff has the edge, but there's a pretty decent group of guys here who all have a long season ahead of them with lots to prove and lots to say about draft positioning. McKenna's far and away the lead dog. There is a group of 8, 9, 10 guys after that deserve to be spoken about as I'm only going to call anyone at this point a potential top 5 or a potential top 10 pick or a potential top 15 pick, wherever you want to draw the line. This guy is not going to escape that group. He's just better than guys after. He's just too fucking talented. But I would have said the same about Hagens last year, and he dropped to 7. Although if Stenberg goes 7, maybe that's kind of in the range you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, again, the one thing, again, as I've mentioned, just going through, kind of the skill set he has, and he has all these areas to improve, is that it's probably pretty easy for him to improve one of these skills that will make him an exceptionally better player. So he doesn't have to improve them all at the same time. If he improves one of them at once, like he's going to be exceptionally better just from that one skill. So
his hands, his edges, and his passing ability, to me, like those 3 things combined, plus his ability to read the play off in the offensive zone. I do think his brain is quite good offensively, just naturally. You get all those things in combination. That's a guy that's going to play top 6 for you.
Yeah. Well, again, but there's potential here.
Bad happens, like really, like unless.
But you said really 75-point guy. Like I'm talking, if he can develop these other skills, which I think he realistically can. It's like, will he? I don't know. But if he realistically can develop some of these skills, like we're talking, maybe there's a 90-point guy here.
Yeah, I mean, I look at a guy like Lucas Raymond, and maybe you see a model for that type of development curve, because he was a guy too that had some. Every prospect has some flaws, but wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the hardest guy, but just had he was just fucking more talented than other guys, and you see now in the NHL, it took him a year or 2 to get going and to overcome sort of the habits and the strength and that sort of stuff that comes with being a bit of a smaller winger. But you look at him now and like bona fide top 6 winger on any team and a first line player. He's going to be a bona fide first line player in his prime years by any measure. So I look at that guy as a model in terms of how you could project the offense. And I mean, anywhere outside the top 2, you're pretty happy with that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm just this is a guy I'm very intrigued to watch as the year goes on.
Me too.
He could really jump, like, again, say like he can definitely jump up to be in that top 5. I think it is a possibility. He probably will go top 10 with just that high-end skill set with the offensive ability, I think.
I just don't see a lot of guys with that talent.
Not yet, anyway, no. Not that I've seen.
Well, I've watched 30 guys now, over 30 guys, and there's we're talking maybe 3 or 4 that have his ability.
Yep. So I mean, yeah, excited to kind of watch what he does this year. And again, he's going to have multiple instances where he can kind of show off his capabilities both in pro and against his peers. So,
Ivar Stenberg, boys, last words. How do you rank these two guys? I think we both feel Stenberg's a little bit ahead of Bjorck at this juncture.
Well, Stenberg has more potential to be a top line player. So he should, again, he should be ranked higher off of that. As I said, though, in the Bjorck kind of profile there, I do actually see how Bjorck could play in a bottom 6. Whereas I don't see that as much for Stenberg. I don't see how that's going to happen. So
I agree.
I mean, again, Bjorck has some size issues, but I like most of his game. He doesn't have the elite skill set that Stenberg has. Doesn't have that one, especially that one elite skill that a lot of teams like. We've talked about this with other, scouts in that already. A lot of these teams care more about that elite skill or that elite tool that they have versus a guy who's just kind of all around pretty good.
Well, because everyone in the NHL fills a role. Every single player. And if you don't fill a role, you don't have a regular spot in the lineup. So you have to have that elite skill, because a guy who's pretty good at everything usually means you're probably wearing a letter in the American League and you're an up and down guy. And that's fine. That's a great fucking career that most guys would want to have in a second. But guys that play a long time in the NHL, almost every single one of them, you could say, this is what kept him in the league for that long. This is his thing. So you have to look for guys that have the potential to have a thing like that, whatever that thing happens to be.
But I am going to
whatever.
But I am going to counter that. Like, teams do have like Swiss Army knife guys, like guys that kind of bump around a lineup and kind of do some different things.
Well, yes. But you have to have a certain skill level to be that player.
Yes, you do. So Bjorck actually, to me, he could fit that because there is some offensive ability here. I think
there's lots of offensive ability.
Exactly. And he can yet still play a way that in a lower lineup role that would be effective, that a coach would like to put him out there. Like that I can see.
And that's fair. I just don't know. I don't really care for a small bottom 6. And before anyone says Brad Marchand was on Florida's third line, that doesn't fucking count. And we all know why, because he's
but again, this is a guy, but he can play offense here, and he is way too good for the Swedish Junior League, and he's going to play pro this year as a 17-year-old.
No, I think look, I don't want to sound like this is anything other than a first-round talent, especially at this point. I would have a hard time taking any 5'9" winger that's, not Bedard, McKenna, whatever.
Well, let's see what he does this year.
5'9", but
again,
not a guy who's not that level. So
we've talked about it again. What we want to see out of him this year. Yeah, we want to see again how the offense translates here, and I want to see again if he can. Again, I want to see what his actual, what he is at the combine. I want to see what his actual size and strength level is.
Got to get him in for one of those Bosnian leg lengthening surgeries, eh?
Yeah, it's a Bosnia.
All right, that's good. That's good for this episode. We're going to be back very soon, probably in about 4 minutes. We might even change our hoodie so it looks like we're recording on different days, but we will be back, not to give all the love to the Swedes. We're going to be back talking about the Finns.
I'm really excited about that episode.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Boyser, I'll see you in 30 seconds.